What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. We're recording this one on Thursday, June 12th, to discuss RIFC's 2-1 USL Championship loss to Louisville City. Just a reminder, each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and click that like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. One last plug: if you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, go make sure you sign up for that today and enter the code TideTalk25, all lowercase, all one word, to get an exclusive pack added to your collection today. So cozy up, grab a beer. Let's dive into this one. For the second straight podcast, it's two Matts, one pod, as I'm joined by my good friend Matt Hands. Matt, how's it going, buddy?
Going all right. Going all right. As good as you can be, I guess, after another loss, but, you know.
That's all we get there, huh?
Yeah.
Got the bloggers with me tonight in full force, as I've also got Mr. Player Ratings, Timmy Sclafani himself. Timmy, what's up, man?
Hello, how's it going? I've been working all day to create a time machine to take me back to November 22nd, 2024. Day before the final. Yeah.
So we've got a lot to discuss on this one. We'll talk the match that transpired last night reluctantly, and we'll also talk some big picture items. Ryan is somewhere in Europe drinking some Hungarian unicorn or something like that. So he's staying up, cranking out blogs. Hopefully he makes it back from his trip still married, for banging out blogs on his family vacation there. But you know, we got Andrew Quadras in the chat complimenting Timmy for that AAA branded t-shirt that must be worth at least $35. Timmy's just a company man. That's what it all boils down to. That's why he had to rep that one out today.
Yeah. Got to do it for the badge.
That's it. It's over your heart, man. We will start off, as we always do, by taking a look at the lineup on this one. With Koke Vega still out, we saw Jackson Lee in net. We had Nodarse, Rio Hopgun, Grant Stoneman, Karifa Yao, Aldair Sanchez, Amos Rivera Thompson, Clay Holstad, Zach Caravaggio, Joe Brito, and Albert Chico Dequa. We'll start with you, Mr. Hands. Couple changes in there, couple notable names dropped from the starting 11 to the bench in this one. What did you make of this lineup when you first saw it?
Yeah, interesting to see. Obviously, no Maxi and no Noah to start. Felt like that was probably Kano sending a message to them because, yeah, it's a midweek game, so you're going to have some rotation, but I wouldn't have expected, them to be out. So, yeah, I think that was Kano mostly sending a message to those guys because he had said, post-match after Miami, I think he had said something about, things needing to change and not having enough quality in the final third, which obviously we've all seen for a while. And so, yeah, I think that's what those changes were. So that's pretty much what, stuck out to me.
Right on. How about you, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I saw it as two different things. Like Matt said, Kano said that we were going to see some changes, but I don't feel like we got cheated, but I kind of feel like he did it in two ways. Like on one hand, he kind of changed the formation. Like we were all talking about it ahead of the game, that it looked like we were going back to the 3-5-2 from last year. But then with the Maxi and Noah piece, like when he said there was going to be changes to players, that wasn't the players that I was expecting. And I feel like it's kind of convenient that those are also probably the two players who needed rest the most. So sure. I'm not sure that they were the most deserving players or to be made an example of to sit them down. And it's easier to say in hindsight, but I kind of feel like we needed those two players. So I will use the word convenient again. Like I kind of think he took advantage of saying we were going to make changes and other players needed to get a chance to get two guys a rest who have started basically our last 10 games or so prior to this one.
Hans, did you like this setup from a tactical perspective, kind of knowing how Louisville plays and what they want to do?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I think going with 5 at the back made the most sense, or 3 center backs as opposed to the 2 made the most sense to kind of try, even though it didn't work, to try to shut things down a little bit. Even though Louisville are more of a pressing team this year, less possession dominant. Still, like I felt like having an extra guy back there would have been a good thing. It kind of worked, but mostly not. So, I mean, we'll get to that. But yeah, I think coming in, it was pretty much the formation anyway that I was kind of expecting and hoping for.
Right on. Timmy, I think you said it in our chat earlier today. We were kind of talking about how this one kind of looked like it was set up to kind of hit a little bit and play a little smash and grab. But Louisville kind of flipped the script on it and said, you know what, let's give them the ball because they can't really do anything with it. And with this lineup, there's really no, Clay obviously can be a real line breaker at times, but he's dropping so deep with this setup that he's not able to do that, especially against a team that presses so well like Lou City. But no real other threats kind of going forward. And we'll get to Chico leading the line, as far as that. So how did you kind of feel tactically about the way this one was set up?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we did kind of go with like the conservative lineup, which doesn't exactly line up with like the way that Louisville has been playing this year, which is I don't think they need a ton of the ball. And yeah, like you said, they were perfectly happy to let us have the ball for especially the majority of the second half and let us have it literally anywhere on the pitch other than like the two areas that it matters, which would be like inside the box and the area right in front of their box. So I kind of feel like it played into their hand, but I'm not sure that there's much else we could have done. Like I think they would have found a way to kind of exploit it no matter how we set up. We were, or a lot of people I think were sort of asking to go back to this setup, which was closer to what we did last year. But I think again, like this isn't exactly the way I would have wanted to do it. Especially like with having Maxi on the bench, I think was probably the most noticeable attacking threat that wasn't there.
Right. I look at this midfield and I obviously will highlight Clay first as like the most progressive passer and line breaker of the group. But with him having to drop so far back to gain possession due to Louisville's press, he's not able to pull those strings and get those passes forward to break lines and advance into attacking territory. You look at Maxi as probably the next best guy on that team to be able to pull those type of strings. Even Noah when he's on, and you got those two guys on the bench to start. You look at Haraval and Amos, they're more or less double pivot players. Shout out to you, Timmy, on the double pivot. But there's no real, string anything to the attack. And the attack is simply Chico on his own. And that's a conversation that we can dive into bright and early on this one. We'll start it out with a message we had in the chat from Todd at Footy New England. He said, not sure if I'll be able to listen, but I would like to ask you folks if the manager is being a bit stubborn continuing to start Albert Dequa. Thanks, FNE. So if we look at, the players like Maxi and Noah, being dropped in this one and Chico still getting the nod. And I'll kick it to you in a sec, Hands, but I do want to read Andrew Quadras' reply to that in the chat. He says, I want to say yes, but there is no one else to start in that place. Otherwise, he would have been sat by now, I think. We'll talk about JJ and if and when he potentially gets back into this lineup. But do you think it should have been, Chico getting one of those two bench spots over Maxi and Noah? And if so, who would you have gone with?
Unfortunately, no. I don't think. I think Chico needed to start because we don't have that. I don't like. We don't have a focal point. Not that he's a great focal point up there, but we don't have a focal point up front without him.
Simply not another striker in the squad healthy right now.
Yeah, so Noah's not gonna he's not a striker. Like he can kind of fill in, but he's not a striker. And then like Maxi, like you need someone who can occupy that space. And like Dequa's the only guy that we have currently that can sort of do it. Or it's that's his job. How well he does it is another argument and discussion. But yeah, I don't think you can bench him because you didn't really have anything else. So, and we saw that late in the game too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what comes out, and you look at, and I'll pull it back up. You go back to what was in that midfield. Um, who else goes in that midfield? Who goes up top with what we had available? I've seen some people online call for Joe Brito playing striker. That is not his position at all. He would not fare well as a number 9 in a starting match in this league. There's just nothing else right now. So I do get it. And I'm totally with Andrew Quadros on that one, that, if there was someone else, sure, but there's literally no one else. Your thoughts on this one, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, painfully, I think I have to agree too. Like, I think when Kano said the comment about making a change and other players needing to start, I think everyone's mind, just being honest, I think everyone's mind goes to Dequa based on the performances. That's the guy I think you would want to see sit and make the change. But it's also, I wish I could say it's the only position, but it's one of the positions on the team that we literally don't have a like for like change for. So I don't see how we could sit him right now. Yeah, and I think Matt Hand said it, but like, we got a glimpse at Noah kind of being the lone guy up top for the last 15 or 10 minutes of this game, and I don't even think he got on the ball even less than Chico, which is hard to do with how little they're getting the ball to the striker. So I don't see another solution. The Brito thing, as much as I don't want to see it, I think that's the best option if you were going to sit Chico. I think that's the only thing you could do. I'm not saying to do it. Matt's making a stank face. He hates it, but I think it's the only potential other thing you could do.
I think after he scored that banger to draw the game against Monterey Bay, I pulled up all of his goals ever scored in an RIFC shirt, and none of them were strikers' goals. They're all late arriving to the box. They're all at the edge of the box. They're all like, making a late run. I just don't think it suits him well. I know there's other people calling for Noah, and you mentioned we saw that, and to your point, the stats back you up. He only had 2 touches in his, I believe, 22 minutes of substitute appearance. But and some other people are calling for Maxi, and we've seen that in spurts, and I don't think Maxi's the guy to be able to handle that as well. People keep saying, when JJ gets back, it's going to help this team turn it around, and I think this is even too tall a task for JJ himself. There's a stylistic change that needs to happen. This midfield needs to get figured out. I'm a big fan. I know we've talked about it before off air, of playing with a true number 6 and letting someone kind of protect that back line, and letting players like Clay and Maxi get further forward so they don't have to, pick the ball up so deep and try to break lines and then play a probing pass. But I look at when Mark Ibarra comes back into the lineup, maybe you see that little bit of security added in front of the back line that allows a player like Maxi and Clay to get the ball in more advanced positions, not work so hard tracking back, and kind of go from there. And, he was on the bench 2 games ago, back on the injury report last game. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he plays back. Before we kind of get into the goals and stuff, what needs to change biggest stylistically for you, Hans?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's, having that, defensive midfielder to kind of connect from the back line to the attack and let, Maxi and Clay, do their job going forward, which, I kind of thought that like Haribo could do that job, or was going to do that job in Ibarra's absence. It kind of hasn't worked out that way. But really that's been like my argument for having Maxi further forward, is if you have the center, the center mids behind him to do more of that dirty work and to stay further back. But yeah, it just seems like the midfield's all over the place, especially, again, we'll get to it, but especially late in the game or second half after the substitutions, we had like no structure. Everyone's just taking up all spaces all over the place. And, yeah, I agree with you. We need a 6. We need a 6 badly.
How about you, Timmy?
I mean, that's where I've been leaning over the last couple of weeks, as well as like having Ibarra back frees up some of your players who are a little better going forward to actually just focus on that. But at the same time, like, every hole that you plug in this roster, when you look at it, like, just opens up another one. Like, then we also don't have a great solution at right wing back right now. Like, I thought Frank played all right, but I mean, I don't know that it's his best position. We have like no idea about Danny Rivera. He's supposedly he's supposedly actually off the injury report. Like that's not a fluke. He's actually off the injury report, but he's I think getting up to match fitness. No indication how long that could take. So like that's another complete unknown. I think the left wingback piece between Alder and Quizera is confusing. Like, so yeah, the more I look at it, I mean, I agree with you guys. Having a 6 and playing closer to how we did last year is something I'd like to see. But other great change, adding attacking talent. I think that'd be nice. We don't have anyone who can seem to do it right now. I mean, a striker would be great, but I think someone to play one of those forward positions and push like Noah and Quizera would be very interesting as well, and maybe more available than a striker because it seems like that's just not happening.
That's a good shout too. We'll talk a little bit more about the 6 as the 6th minute probably brought us our first big talking point with Matt Hansboy Frank picking up an early yellow, challenging for an aerial duel. I'll even stand up for Frank on this one. No way this was a yellow. I'm okay with it being whistled as a foul, but he has his body turned, his head turned, isn't tracking the defender at all. Referee comes out and brandishes a yellow card on that one. And I think it was the first of many astounding decisions by that match official during this one. How about you, Hans?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, not yellow at all. Just a coming together of two players. He wasn't looking, didn't put his hands on the guy or anything. Literally was just going for the ball. So, yeah, pretty ridiculous, especially early in the game, too. Because then you have to kind of like be more cautious the rest of the game, obviously, right? Not wanting to get another yellow. So, yeah, it was a terrible call. But, like, we're used to it. So, what else is new, I guess?
Timmy just pounded that Sierra Madre in like 4 sips. So maybe his tips have changed a little bit on that one.
How could you tell that I finished it?
Oh, I watched you throw it back and put that can light can
That's
down.
a pro.
Dude, it was so good. I've been waiting to drink this for like an hour. But yeah, I mean the sucky part about you just alluded to it, but like giving that bad of a foul in the 6th minute has down game effects. And like I think Frank maybe would have played the first Louisville goal differently had he not been on a yellow card. So that sucks. And just on the ref in general, which I don't know. I like when they're at least consistent. And this person I thought was consistent in that I never had an idea what they were going to do. It was one of those games that would blow a whistle, and I would be like, I don't know which way which way he's going to point. I genuinely have no idea. There was like 5 fouls like that, especially in the midfield on Clay and Haribo. I was like, yeah, sure, it could go either way. I have no clue. So I didn't take a great game, but at least consistently bad.
Consistently bad.
Consistently inconsistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Elton Garcia was definitely the definition of that, as we like to dox the crappy referees here on Tide Talk. It's what we do. If I remember correctly, he was the same official last season that every time we had a free kick would hold the whistle and point at it and like hold up play for extended periods of time.
What was that? I saw him do that in the game last night. What was he doing?
He did that at a home game where he had us last year, where I believe it was a home game, where he would just hold the whistle on free kicks and point at it so the players acknowledged him. And it was just such a delay of the game and disrupted and ruined all in any kind of flow that the game could potentially pick up.
So is that his way of being like, I'm the ref, like respect me? Is that what he's doing?
You wait for the whistle. Respect my authority, as Eric Cartman would say.
Yeah. That is so gross. That sucks. I did see him do that and was like, I hope he's not doing that for that reason. That's awful.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and try to figure it out, but I'm pretty sure we had him at least once last year, and it was that move that we saw. And I think I asked someone who reffed about it, and they can indicate like it is on my whistle, but like it was such a long and pronounced process. It just took so much away and longer than normal.
Yeah, we actually, so he reffed the semifinals against Louisville last year. He reffed our home game where we beat Tampa Bay Rowdies in October of last year. And then I bet the game you're thinking of, he reffed our home loss to Detroit City in
Maybe
June,
that was
the
it.
early
Yeah.
June last year.
Yeah. So, well, we'll get back to a little bit more action on this one as the goal got scored in the 20th minute. Sarah wants to know if Elton is compensating for something, or maybe he's gesturing at the actual size of things there. But we'll take a look at the goal that was scored in the 20th minute to give Blue City the 1-0 lead.
Both those teams could use a win. Corner for Louisville City. Skims through to the other side. Here's Perez. Jostling by Yao. Service again. Aiden McFadden! And Louisville City runs in front of Rhode Island.
Surrounded this team this year has been recycled set pieces. Rhode Island do a good job of winning the initial one. They don't clear the lines, don't do a good job of getting pressure out there quick enough. And then great job by Perez to keep this thing alive. Notice how he gets Yao to bite on the first one. Gets the center back to square himself up, and as he cuts it back across, that's a no-no defensively. That's a mismark. Rhode Island have the advantage. No Darcy.
So ball gets through and kind of finds that gap between Clay and Frank on that one. But it seems like, these set pieces and corner kicks are where we're getting into a lot of trouble. But the end of that clip, Matt Hands, was definitely the commentators giving all the blame to Frank on that one.
Yeah.
About the size advantage and all of that, as Hairband Nation got on the board before us, on this one. So talk us through this goal, your thoughts on it, and kind of who takes the blame for this.
Yeah, I think Frank for sure. I'll just say it. Yeah, he should have defended that second ball better. But also just like, I don't know who it was, maybe just the whole defense. Like we can't clear our lines from corners. Like we've given up, I think now 13 goals on the season, at least in the league, and 7 of them have been on like set pieces. So like either, and not including this one where it wasn't directly from the corner, but it was basically, I'm counting that. So like more than half of the goals we're giving up are those types of plays, and so that sucks. And we need to do better at clearing the ball away, because you cut some of those out, we're even better. I mean, again, our attack is obviously the main problem, but like you cut some of those out, our defense improves even more, and you can get probably have a couple more points. So, but yeah, that goal, I'd say, mostly on Frank. He's got to mark better. He's bigger. We've seen he can head the ball. Like we saw it all last year. He got some good headed goals last year. Cleared the ball away. I don't know why, what's going on this year, why he's not doing that. But yeah, it's on Frank, sadly.
Are you going to take Andrew Quadras' escape route here? And I wonder if Frank was hesitant to challenge because of that hand injury.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Or maybe the yellow, which Timmy gave him that escape route earlier.
Fair.
So usually I'm the one who'd be sitting here coming up with like excuses or things for Frank, and luckily Timmy and Andrew are doing that for me. But yeah, maybe.
Sarah put in the chat, Yao is a loaf. I thought Yao got caught kind of on an island out there. And it's actually, if you go back and look at the marking, it's interesting where the center backs are in relation to the midfielders. You'd think you'd want to have a guy like Yao in there who's a big physical presence. Clay's tucked in a lot more centrally than Yao. So I know they kind of go back between zonal and man marking depending on certain players and certain matchups, but I would think Yao would be one of the guys you would want closer to the net, try to clear that initial line, which they did clear the initial line. It was just after that, and Yao's out there on an island tiptoeing, trying not to get too close to a Lou City attacker, and get his pants taken off on the way to the box, and he sags off a little too much and gives him a free cross in there, which I think was another key element leading up to this goal. But your thoughts on this one, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, that was my biggest issue with it too, was Yao is probably our best at getting his head on a ball to clear it in the box. So I didn't love that he was the one who had to pick up the wide man way outside of the box. Got absolutely cooked out there, like you said. And then I put less of the blame on Frank. I do think the yellow card and probably the head injury were factors, but also like there's not a ton he can do from behind the guy. I think Clay, if anything, should have got ahead to it. But The camera angles are a little wonky. I think McFadden got a little push. I think he pushed Clay off just a tiny bit, just enough to keep him from getting his head to it. Like, wouldn't even be perceived as a foul. It looks like he gets a little push on him. I'm just saying. It was a bad goal to concede, but I wasn't like too horrified with the defending, other than Yao out wide. But
you buying the push there, Hans?
I'd have to look at it again. I don't know. Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me. But again, the ref was just inconsistent with that too. So there were he was calling like little pushes. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a push there and he just completely missed it.
All right, fair enough. 7 minutes later, RIFC get on the board as Joe Brito forces a Lou City own goal. So let's take a look at that.
Shapiro Thompson to play in that kind of hybrid 10. They was floating up high next to Joey Brito.
Rounding the goalkeeper. Brito. Tight angle. Put in by Adams. Out of absolutely nothing. Joe Brito exploits Louisville City. Adams taps it over the line.
So totally a fluke against the run of play as far as things are going. Timmy, we'll start with you on this one. Was this enough to give you false hope and confidence that we could stick this one out, maybe even for a draw?
Well, maybe to answer that exact question, maybe yes, because I didn't think Louisville was that great or threatening. I've said a few times, I really thought they like sleepwalked through this game because they knew we just weren't going to do much. So when we tied it 1-1, I did think we had a chance. It didn't give me fake confidence that Brito is going to be our goal scorer or our chance creator or could play as our striker. Like, I'm not jumping on that exactly. It was a great effort to get the ball. Loved that.
Great ball too over the top. Was it Amos that played that? Yeah,
it was. But then I think he was trying to cross it or flash it in front of the goal mouth. No one would have been there. Chico was at the top of the box. No one would have been there. I'm pretty sure it catches a deflection off a post, and that's why it ricochets off the defender. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you guys will, but call me out. That's how I read it, though.
Hans, did you see the deflection there? Do we want to go back? Do we want to rewatch it?
Yeah, I feel like we should be watching it. I didn't see a deflection there. I think, yeah.
Let's run it back so we can potentially call Timmy out on his bullshit.
Shapiro Thompson to play in that kind of hybrid 10. They was floating up high next to Joey Brito.
Rounding the goalkeeper. Brito. Tight angle. Put in by Adams. Out of absolutely nothing.
Can't really
100%. 100% takes the deflection.
I was going to say 100%. I was going to say 100%. I cannot tell. Let us know in the chat your thoughts on this one.
It hits the near post.
All right, so
I didn't see that at all.
You got Ace the Kangaroo backing you on this one, saying, I think you're right. I swear from the replay on ESPN2, it goes off the post and then off the defender. Maybe. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Anyone else in the chat? Ace the Kangaroo's got it on lock with Timmy. Timmy, are you in the chat as yourself? As
Ace? My burner, yeah. Yeah.
Is that Ace you work with?
Oh, maybe.
Could be. Hans, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well,
on the whole sequence.
Yeah, the whole sequence. Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't see a deflection, but whatever. I think. I mean, we've seen Brito score those like hustle goals. Like I think it wasn't Memphis. Was it Memphis? One of the games last year. No, Tampa Bay. No, that was Zach Tampa Bay. One of the games last
Memphis
year,
where he kicked it out of the keeper's hand.
Yeah.
Like that debate one. Yeah.
I was getting that confused with the Zach goal where Zach tackled Tampa Bay's goalie and scored. But yeah, like we've seen Brito anyway have those like hustle plays. I feel like he either does that to follow up a play or chase something down that like a lot of other players might not or might give up on, or he has like these random moments of quality like he did against Monterey Bay with that goal. But yeah, I mean, good effort from him. I think he was probably, at least in the first half, like our best player. Not that he did a ton, but he was kind of all over the field. I think he probably felt like this is my chance. Like I'm getting a start here over with Maxi and Noah, I feel like. And so maybe that kind of gave him some extra burst there. But yeah, it was a good play by him. And, really nothing else he can do after winning the ball and taking it around the goalie. I mean, it was going to go out. So I think he did a good job to keep it in, and just only thing he can do there is try to cross it towards the middle of the box and hope, or to the goal line and hope it gets knocked over, which it did. So, I mean, yeah, credit to him. It was a good play.
I think, he, like you said, he did the right thing, hit it across the mouth of goal, and you got to hope somebody would be there. But Chico, like you mentioned, nowhere in the picture at the top of the box. No one's coming in from the weak side. Just a lucky break, a lucky bounce, and we're able to head into the half even at 1 on this one. First half stats for this game included Louisville with 53% possession to 47 for RIFC. They outshot us 9-2 with 2 shots on target, 0 shots on target, even though that goal for RIFC. Louisville had the one big chance. We had none. Louisville completed 125 passes at 78% to our 112 at 74. Very low passing numbers for first half in most USL Championship games. 8 fouls committed for Louisville, 5 for RIFC. They had 5 corners. We had 0. Any other big picture thoughts on the first half, Timmy?
I thought we were pretty awful, and I didn't like the way we were playing at all. Like it was going to our center backs. Sometimes they would get it into the midfield, and then it was a long ball over the top that was going nowhere. We would either lose the first duel, or we would get to a somewhat advanced position. Someone would do a half space cross without looking up that would just go nowhere or get grabbed by the keeper. Like, I saw almost nothing encouraging in the way of attack from us in the first half.
How about you, Hans?
Yeah, I think you had said earlier, or Timmy had said, like, you had asked him about if the goal, like, had us thinking maybe we could get a draw. For me, I did. Like, I felt like going into halftime, like, yeah, we haven't been great, but I didn't think we were, like, that bad where we were definitely going to lose, but we had to come out better in the second half, which, as we'll see, we obviously didn't. But yeah, I guess my point is, I didn't expect us to go in there and, like, put forward a great performance with a bunch of chances, or, like, take the game to them. I mean, you're going to like Lynn Family Stadium, best team in the league, unbeaten this year. They're better. I think they're better than they were last year, especially they're more balanced, a lot better best defensive team in the league. So, like, my hope kind of going into the game was that we were going to be able to, like, maybe grind out a draw. And I felt going into half that was still a possibility, but obviously it didn't happen. And yeah. I think second half was worse than first half, but I know we're getting to that.
Yeah, I think for me, seeing the way this team was set up, it was, we're going to try to just limit the damage on this one and maybe nick a goal or 2 on the break if we can. And, maybe with some subs coming on late, potentially influence the game, because there wasn't much in the way of creativity in the starting 11. And I think, obviously, Brito, that is the definition of nicking a goal, totally against the run of play. Just throwing it across the mouth of goal, hoping for something good to happen. It happened. And I thought, maybe we can see this one out. Maybe we can get this at a 1-1 draw. But we played right into Louisville's hands in the second half, as they, to the point I was making with Timmy earlier, gave us the ball, said, go ahead, do your thing with it, fuck around with it, find out, and we'll hit you again, which they did, as we'll get to. But a couple, bigger talking points in the second half, and then we'll get to some listener takes as well. But overall second half, we see the goal in the 67th minute, I believe it was, 63rd minute, I'm sorry, where Serrano puts Louisville up for the final time, making it 2-1.
Tosh passing the 20,000 minute mark. Started this attack, ball through now. Serrano! Ray Serrano again! His team leading 6th of the year! 2-1 Louisville City!
Danny Cruz, that aggression is what gets this going. The inversion of the dueling tens. The substitute and Jansen Wilson, great job on the undercut. Notice how the substitute, Mabika, gets caught out of position. He gets caught ball watching, something Karifa Yao did not do in his 60 minutes of play.
So I really like the take from the announcer there, kind of leading into this one. Mabika gets caught ball watching. Grant gets kind of, stuck with a really poor touch. But right before this goal, we saw a double substitution where Frank Nodarse and Karifa Yao were both subbed out, and I'm in Mabika and Jose Quizera come on, changing the game. I understand the Frank sub being on the yellow. I thought other than Yao having to, defend out on that island, he played a pretty decent game, and, he's still getting back to full fitness. So I guess you could kind of justify his sub there. But in a 1-1 game with such fine margins, taking out 2 of your 3 starting center backs, I think is a big misstep from Kano. You can always, kind of add to it or bolster it or drop somebody back. But as far as continuity in a tight, close game like this, you got to start with your spine. And I think you got to keep that center back your line as intact as possible. You can maybe sub one of them out, going forward on that one. So your thoughts on, that substitution, the interesting kind of pairing their hands and anything leading up to this goal?
Yeah, I agree. I think I didn't like the sub. And yeah, I mean, like you were saying, and like Devin Kerr said on the broadcast, like Mabika got caught out of position, which is something that usually we'll see Frank do. He loves going up and following someone and leaving space in behind. He's done that at times, but yeah, that's what Mabika did there. And Stoneman, I guess, tried to clear it, but just kicked it right to their player. I mean, it was just awful defending overall.
It was such a weird touch. It was like,
yeah,
didn't realize he had it almost. It took that ricochet off him, sat right in front of him, and then Blue City's on the bounce.
Yeah, he's got to do a better job of clearing that away too, But yeah, I mean, that team like Blue City's good. Like they'll punish you if you do that. And so yeah, I not even just because of the goal. I just don't like the sub because yeah, I mean, yeah, you're playing in like one of the toughest environments in the league against, Blue City and one of the best attacks in the league, even though they're not, I think they're like 4th or 5th in goals scored in the league. So they're not like going off like they did last year, but still really good attack. I think it's a tough spot to put like a center back in to bring him on in the game at that point. So like, unless you had to, I don't get why you do that. I don't think Frank, for Frank, I mean, he was at wing back anyway, so that's fine. But I don't think you take Yao out there, assuming he's fit to go. I don't know why you would take him out. So,
yeah, I like Sarah's point in the chat too. Such a mess. Someone pulled that little asshole to Europe. Serrano looks like a little believer. He's infuriating to watch, but he also gets into so many good spots, in there as well. I'm also not convinced he was onside on that ball in. I thought he was behind the line. Pretty tight. I couldn't tell if the far center back was keeping him on, but I thought he was a step at the edge of the line. So, Timmy, share your thoughts on the subs, and that kind of interesting take on it, as well as the goal.
Yeah, I mean, Mabika coming on and basically his first involvement in the game was being out of position and getting like blown up like that was truly awful. Like that was basically the first thing that he did in the game was that sequence. Unlucky that Stoneman's clearance kind of gets picked back up. It reminded me of the first goal we conceded against the Revs in the Open Cup. With that goal, there was like 3 deflections. It just kept falling to their feet, and then all of a sudden they're in front of the net. But yeah, I think Rio was a little slow, maybe tracking the run. I didn't catch if it might have been offsides. I didn't look for that, but you just mentioned it. I'll have to check it back. But ultimately with the subs, I mean, I think actually Quadros just kind of hit on it in the chat, but I was going to say a similar point. Like the first 2
For
subs.
those of you listening to the podcast version, go ahead, Timmy.
He said the subs seem to be purely for rotational purposes, less about being tactical. Between that and the starting lineup, I think Kano was happy to throw this game away to focus on the weekend. And I mean, I kind of agree. Like I'm going to stop you
right there. I hate the phrase throwing games. It's being thrown around way too much on social media. These are professional athletes, professional coaches being paid to play and coach the sport. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody's throwing intentional games. No one's throwing a USL Championship game. That notion needs to be dispelled from this fan base.
You're right. Not throwing the game, but with the first two subs being center backs, and there were factors like Yao probably limiting minutes, Frank being on a yellow. But if your first two subs are center backs, do you think Kano was thinking get out of here with a point 60 minutes into the game?
I just hate ruining the continuity of that, though. Like you have two center backs
Me
in,
too.
one's on a yellow. Like, yeah, let's get the one on the yellow off. And if you want to be a little bit more defensive minded, maybe you pulled Chico out, or he did come out in this sub, right? But maybe it's not Quazera that comes on. Maybe it's Temu who comes on, another pivot midfielder who can help hold up play in the midfield and clog things up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, obviously the continuity with the center backs killed us because
it's huge. It's huge.
He conceded the goal almost immediately.
How often at any level do you see a manager make a double sub and pull two starting center backs of a back three out in one fail swoop? Not very often.
I can't think of any time I've seen it, quite honestly.
Yeah, same. I think Quadros is like, I kind of get what he's saying about like rotation and resting players. Like I think we've done that a lot in like midweek games, and so like I've kind of always given Kano the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that, because also Yao hasn't played a full 90 right since coming back. Like he's
right.
So I mean, who knows there? But at the same time, like I don't think messing with your defense against this team was like a great idea. But I do think like I wouldn't be upset if the mindset was to try to play for a draw. It didn't work, but I mean, we were offering nothing going forward. Like we weren't going to score again. So I'm not like, if we're trying to get a draw there, like I feel like that's fine. But again,
Andrew brings up another valid point. He wants to know, how do we all feel about Indy last year ahead of the derby? It very much looked like that game was rotated, but
yeah. But Matt Hans, you just said we didn't look like scoring. So like what other, but we had Noah and Maxi on the bench. I'm not saying we should have brought them on when the game was 1-1, but I'm just asking the question again of if our first two subs are center backs. I mean, I have to think he was thinking to try to get a draw.
Yeah, no, right. Like probably, but
I don't love that. I do not love that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I think it's tough. Like, if we tried to throw, like, well, who would you bring Maxi and Noah? Like, would you keep Dequa on the field? Would you have taken Dequa off? And because we took Dequa off and we had Maxi and Noah further up, and it was like a disaster. Like, they were all taking up the same spaces. We basically just brought on a bunch of attacking mids, like with Isaac later on too, right? And like it didn't work at all. So I don't know if that would have worked unless you like keep Dequa on and maybe bring him on for someone else and maybe take. But you don't want to take Amos off. I mean, or Clay. Like it's kind of a tough choice there.
Amos was having a great game too. I think he led the midfield in touches. He had like 68 touches in this one compared to like 30 across the rest of the line between Brito, Herval, and Clay. They were all in the 30s. So, it's tough with him because he can go out there and give you the full shift and, growing himself into challenges and all that. The announcers mentioned on that ball that he played forward that led to the Brito, getting the own goal there, that he was playing much higher in a pseudo 10 spot. And I didn't think that at all. I think it was just classic box to box aimless kind of everywhere, all over, getting that Roy Kent role. Yeah. But he wasn't, he did play that probing pass forward, to Brito, but it wasn't like he was picking up the ball, carrying it, breaking lines or anything. That was just something we struggled at as a whole team. And you got to credit Lou City's press to that. I think they kept us pegged back throughout this one.
Yeah, I almost thought Amos was playing like deeper than the other two midfielders. I thought he was playing closer to like the Mark Ibarra, like 6 role. Not exactly the same way, but yeah, I did hear them say that as well and didn't necessarily agree. But then once the subs started coming, it was complete jumbled mess. Anyone could have been anywhere in the second half. It was
and also speaking of like a 6, like shouldn't Taimu be able to do that too? Like what? Because he was starting over Ibarra
I don't think he's physical enough, though. I think he was starting over Ibarra because Ibarra was out. Like he was out injured. Yeah. But I don't think Taimu is as physical as Ibarra. I don't even think Amos is as physical for it. I know people have put like side by side comparisons online of Amos and Ibarra's stat lines and all that, but I think they're not very like pieces. When I look at this midfield, and you can throw Noah into this conversation, Quezera in it for those purposes as well, but I think Ibarra is the most clearly defined role midfielder that we have on this team. He's a holding six. That he's going to sit back and mix it up. I think I called him a cement truck on here before because he just kind of turns it all up and does all that dirty work. But I think we have so many, as you mentioned, I don't know if it matter to Timmy said it when we put all those subs on and put all those attacking midfielders on. But are they though? Like it's like a lot of our midfielders are cut from the same cloth where they kind of play that same style. They play that, same like overlapping run type game. We have a question about that we'll get to a little bit later. But outside of Ibarra, I can't think of another midfielder who I can say like this is definitely his best position and plug him into a spot.
Yeah, you're probably right. I still think Zach could do that role, but he kind of doesn't.
I like Zach better. I like Zach better as an 8. I like him a little bit further forward.
Yeah. No, I think we have a lot of 8s.
I think 8's the log jam in this one.
Yeah, I think like Maxey can obviously do that. Clay can do that. Amos can do it. Zach can do it. So yeah, there's a lot of guys, but I feel like Zach could play further back, but I don't know. They have to define, like you said, they gotta get more defined roles and not just let the players kind of play their game and what they're used to doing. Like if you don't have a 6, you got to have someone fill in there, and it kind of felt like we didn't have that. So,
right on. Your thoughts on that, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, they've changed. They've just changed it so many times this season. Like there hasn't been almost any consistency to how they've set up in the midfield. Like someone said, we started with Taimu playing as the 6 by himself. Then I think we had to drop someone in with him in the next few games because he wasn't doing it well enough. Then we moved to the back 4 thing. So we would have the two more holding midfielders with Maxey above them. It's changed every game. Like I guess I said in the player ratings blog, even like I feel like Amos himself has played 3 different midfield positions in the last 3 games. He played a box to box. He played more like a wing on Saturday, and now he played a holding role in this game. Like it's just, I don't even feel like they can get into really any rhythm in a midfield position because the role and the instructions are changing every week. We just haven't really found like what works yet, I think, for a lot of our players.
Well, let's look at that. We've seen some tinkering. We've seen the 3-5-2. We've seen the 4-4-2, or whatever you want to phrase it with that, and the 4-2-3-1. How many more turns of the Rubik's Cube before Kano can get it right with this squad?
The way they're playing right now, infinity maybe. I don't know. I really like that. This is a good opportunity. Ryan put out a blog a few hours ago titled "The Missing Middle," and he gave a lineup suggestion that was he had a back 4. He had he's obsessed with Haribo playing the 6, which I could take or leave.
Yeah, see, I'm with him on that too. Ryan and I agree a lot in these things.
Yeah. So he has Haribo at the 6. I would put Ibarra there. Then he has Clay and Maxey as the 2 progressive midfielders, which again I would have Haribo in the rotation somewhere there. And then he has the rest of the lineup pretty much what we've been playing with Rio at right back, Aldair at left back, Noah and Quezera up top. Obviously, to get the full take, you should check out his blog on tidetalkri.com. But
great plug, Tim.
I feel like Matt Hans called me ridiculous for putting this lineup in the chat like 2 weeks ago. Just saying. I think he said awful take. When I put.
But Ryan says it. He's a genius.
Sounds about right. Was it this exact lineup? Was it really? That
I'll have to look back. In the chat.
No, because I thought it was much more central. Because I think I complained about us not having any width in the team. So I don't know if Quezera was in your lineup.
A lot of people.
Ryan talks about us having too much width in this article.
Yeah, right. A lot of people get fussy too about putting Maxey deeper in the midfield. Like that's where I want to see him. I do. I want to see him picking up the ball, dribbling it forward. I want to see him doing what Clay basically does in our system
No, I
now.
want
I want
Clay
to see him
doing
doing
that.
it with
I
Clay.
want Clay doing that and finding Maxi when he's advancing the
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah,
I
I'm with
think
Matt.
that's the missing. I think that's the missing link, that we don't have somebody who's getting it to a good passer anywhere near the final third, and we're trying to play these hit and hope balls from deep, and it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, like what I've been saying is, I think like, and there's been word that like Maxi's not going to want to do it because he didn't like doing it in Detroit. But like, I'd rather have Maxi further
No
forward.
one like doing it on that shit pitch.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Seriously.
No, like I'd like Maxi further forward with like with a striker, obviously, preferably JJ when he comes back. But yeah, I mean, I think Maxi can play more of an 8, but we just went over like we have a ton of those. Like we don't need him to do that. I'd rather have him have more of a free role, similar to what Noah did last year. Which again kind of sacrifices Noah and kicks him out of that spot where he was the most successful last season. But I think that's where I'd rather see Maxi. I think we have enough midfielder, like enough 8s, hopefully figure out a 6 to be behind him, get him the ball, and make those late runs into the box, like at the edge of the box, like he does, to get some goals, because I think that's where we would benefit the most from him. And then probably kick Noah out wide to solve the either left wing back or right wing back problem. But
fair enough. All right, we'll wrap up the talking points on this one. The next biggest one I would say is the Quazera red card. I think his first yellow was extremely soft, and I think the second yellow was indeed warranted. I know some other people were calling it a dive or a fabrication, but I think knowing you're on a yellow, you can't go in there like that. You can't even go near it. And he goes and clips the leg. The Blue City player does make a meal out of it. But Timmy, your thoughts on Quazera's cameo, albeit brief?
I mean, truly horrible. Like, also the play between the two cards was pretty bad.
Yeah, oh yeah, he could have had the second one much sooner.
Yeah. But so I thought the first yellow card was kind of warranted. And I think he turned it over trying to dribble out of our own box, but he was like still kind of in possession of the ball. So completely unnecessary foul, whether it was a foul or not. And then to get the second one, it's especially frustrating because he has to know he's one of the only players who can create a chance for us right now, a team that can't create a chance to save our lives. And now we're going to miss him for the next game. Like it might be the most frustrating player to lose going into next game, honestly, for me.
Good shout. How about you, Hans?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's the most frustrating player to lose because he hasn't been good this year or nearly up to as good as he was last year at points. But yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Like that second one's definitely yellow. Like it's like textbook yellow. Like his studs are out. And I know he's going for the ball. That's why his like foot's up like that. But you see those called all the time in yellows and given for those. Red if you make a lot of contact, which he didn't, but still, I think it's definitely a second yellow, unfortunately. And you're right, like you can't go into it like that. Like you can't go into a challenge like that when you're already on a yellow. And to get 2 yellows in like such a short amount of time as like a substitute,
it's just stupid.
It's just awful. Yeah, it's stupid. Like you can't do it. So, I mean, it didn't affect the game, but obviously it's probably going to affect our upcoming game. But yeah, dumb. We were hoping. I was gonna say we were hoping he'd come back from international duty better, and he's worse. So that's not good.
It seems to always happen that way. Our friend FQB is having a limited edition Hostess Strawberry mini donut. It's elite. Sounds more elite than the match last night. So I figured it was probably warranted to pull that out from the chat and get that on there. We also had the incident near the end of the game where people call it 2 penalty shouts. I think it was only really 1. I think it was still Quazera at that point, right? I think it was a total dive at the play that came in the box. But I do think the keeper coming and absolutely taking out Maxi was a stone cold penalty. Hans, you want to hop in first? Or would you like to have a limited edition Hostess Strawberry mini donut?
That would be nice. But no, it's tough. I think in real time, I thought it looked like a penalty, and then initially on replay, I thought it looked like a penalty. I think it's one that I'm on the fence. I feel like if
Which
it
part
went,
of it are you talking? Are you talking the keeper?
the Maxi, the keeper on Max, yeah, Damien loss on Maxi diving for the ball. I think he does probably get like fingertips to the ball. I think he does kind of obviously go through Maxi to do it, but generally, I think if there was VAR and they looked at that, they wouldn't have. It might have been overturned, but I don't know. I'm gonna maybe a cop out, but I think for the USL that should be a penalty. But if it was like another league with VAR where they can like scrutinize like crazy, they probably would have scrutinized it and not given it. But yeah, I mean, I think it probably should have been a pen, but at the end of the day, we didn't deserve it anyway. Like we sucked, and so to get a pen at the end of the game,
Would
they
have
get a
fit the
draw.
smash and grab bill even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Like yeah, if they get 2 goals, they get like a penalty. What was stoppage time? I believe, right? Like a penalty in stoppage time, or very very late, and like the own goal on that like play from Brito, and to get a draw would have been wild. Probably would have given a lot of the fandom false hope because we would have drawn a game that we had no business getting a point in. But tough one, but yeah, we didn't deserve it anyway. So that's kind of where I sit with it.
Fair point. Your thoughts on this, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I like Matt said, I thought the annoying part about it was we don't have VAR, and in real time, it 100% looked like a penalty, so it should have been given. After seeing it replayed in slow motion, I actually don't think it was a penalty. But what was his name? Edwin Garcia? What was his name? He would have had no way of knowing that, so we should have given
Elton. I think
Elton
okay.
John.
Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah. So that was annoying. I know I'm digging back now, but I didn't think it was as egregious as the missed penalty on Frank last week or on Saturday's game. I thought that was a stone cold penalty that they completely missed. So really 2 penalties in our last 2 games that I think should have been given.
Yeah, I've seen people post about this one and say, it wasn't the keeper's fault that Maxi got in the way. No, it is. If you go out for a challenge and you don't get the fucking ball first, it's a foul. And if you foul a player in the box, it's a stone cold penalty. And that's end of story as far as that one goes for me. But it is what it is. Final stats on this one included 57% possession for RIFC. So, kind of to that point in Louisville having such strong press, I think we played right into their hands, having so much of the ball. Like Timmy, you said, they gave us the ball and said, go ahead, do whatever you can with it, because we know you can't do that much with it. And it truly showed, even more so in the second half on this one, where we actually had 65% possession. We were outshot 12-4. Louisville had 3 shots on target. We had 2. They had 2 big chances. We had none. Louisville completed 218 passes at 75%. We completed 318 at 77. They committed 13 fouls. We had 11. 8 corner kicks for Lou City, 0 for RIFC. Just a very underwhelming performance. Not a fun watch. I found myself nodding off a bit at times throughout this one. Just not captivating. Very boring. I see you want to come in and share something there, Tim.
Yes, I just one great but terrible stat I want to add. This was the fewest touches in the opposition box that we've ever had. We only had 8 touches. I think we had a game where we had 10 and a game where we had 11 earlier this season, which I think were the 2 lowest, even dating back through last season, but 8 was the fewest we've ever had. So that's not the only measure, but I feel like that's a very strong measure of how much we lacked creativity and threat at all in this game. Just absolutely nothing going for us.
I think that's also a number we could see decrease in the next match or 2, which is pretty well to say.
God.
But, overall, I think we played right into their hands as far as stats and the style Lou City wanted us to play. We'll switch gears a bit and hit the Defiant 1636 Discord to get some of your takes. Sarah in the chat has good Joe Brito, bad Frank Smith, ugly defense on set pieces, RIFC and 3-point Saturday, ? Our friend Leo had good, heavily rotated and jumbled lineup, providing a new juice to put up strong fight early. Bad players, specifically center backs out of position, burning us again on both goals. Ugly 4 total shots, 2 on goal, despite better early energy and effort. Kano constantly screaming forward late. They just kept playing that backwards or sideways pass. It was extremely frustrating late on. You could hear him very loud and clear in the broadcast. The players were just not executing what he wanted to see done. Leo's RIFC in 3 was paraphrased from a first half Kano comment. Early enough advantage already. That referee, we can talk about Elton for I think a few more hours if we got to it. Andrew Hill added his good as nothing. His bad was everything, and ugly the vibes. The vibes around this team continued to go in the shitter and sink like an anchor to the bottom of the ocean, getting worse and worse each and every game. And it's pretty unfortunate. Andrew followed up with, yes, I'm being a whiny little piss baby right now, but this was hard to watch. It was extremely hard to watch. Matt Hands, you added your good was Brito. Your bad was the substitutions. Ugly was Danny Cruz. Danny Cruz is an ugly little gremlin. I'll give you that. And your RFC in 3 was toothless yet again. Maybe you'll have to go see the new How to Train Your Dragons live action movie and get a better quart of toothless. We've got a question in there from Sarah we'll get back to. I know we have another question we'll come to as well. Tyler, that's RIFC in 3, what Andrew said. And let's see, that might be it as far as the Discord goes. I'll pull that question back. Going on Twitter, we had Tide Talk at RI, so that must have been Ryan drunk on Negronis texting from the Tide Talk account and not his personal one. His good was trying something new with the starting lineup. Bad, the performance of said starting lineup. Ugly, any sort of competence in the final third. 0 corners, 8 touches in the opposition box, 0 accurate crosses, 4 shots. RIFC in 3, somebody help us. Totally with that. Todd at Footy New England had toothless attack continues. Good was Amos. Bad, Kano and his lack of ideas. Ugly, Jackson Lee's confidence. I'll touch on that one. I don't think Jackson was too, bad in this one. He had another slip moment, but neither goal was certainly on him.
Yeah, I think I was critical of him after last game, the previous Miami game. I thought he was better in this game, and like you said, neither goal was on him. So there was improvement in this game. I think he can still be a lot better and get to the level that we saw him at last year. But and at times this year too. He's had some good games this year, but yeah, I don't think he was to blame for either goal at all.
Sure.
Nothing he could do on him.
Yeah, I don't think Louisville pushed him too hard either, but he held up better against their pressure than I kind of feared maybe would be the case. So I thought he was fine too.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Also coming from Twitter was FQB with his RFC in 3 has figured out. Good, the game is over. Bad, our best players were irrelevant. Ugly, not getting that pen. Totally agree with you there. We had one hit on Instagram, the legendary 006. The RFC in 3 was what the fuck. Good, still searching. Bad, dump puck ball style passing. Quizera red also as the bad. And ugly, our lone goal. Not saying I can do better, but Jesus Cristo. Pretty in-depth take there. And then we switch it over to the Facebook page where we had, let's see. Of course, it won't pull up right away. Our good friend Don Lindbergh had total lack of offense. This team looks lost. So thank you to everyone who wrote in on this. We do the social media posts after each and every match. If you'd like to hear your thoughts shared on air, make sure you comment on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or in the Defiant 1636 Discord to share your thoughts. Do want to address FQB's question in the chat. Can I get you guys on record that saying you are officially criticizing the gameplay and the coaching decisions, asking for a dear friend? Although we will be told that we are not the first to do so. Timmy, Matt, and I can all say we've actively criticized players, the tactics, coaches, and the gameplay as this one. Would you both agree with me on this?
Yeah, I think Kano was right when he said good teams don't lose 2 games in a row.
That's it. Hans, would you agree that we criticize all 3 of those elements?
Yeah, for sure. And on Kano, we've criticized Kano's substitutions going back to last year.
Right.
So yeah, and here too as well. So you don't have to call for someone's job to criticize them.
I also wanted to. Yeah, and I also wanted to ask you both a follow-up question, and we can kind of pass it around with this. Timmy, did I ever once scream into the microphone as we made those criticisms?
Thinking back, no, I don't think you did.
Did Hands?
No. Once he yelled at me at a game for saying something about Frank, but no, he's not screamed into his microphone.
Yeah.
Hands, has Timmy screamed tonight?
No.
So that's the way we do things around here. So thank you to everyone again who wrote in for all of our social hits. We're gonna end this one on a segment. Ryan brings you slides. You got Matt in the hot seat tonight, so I bring you a slide. So we're gonna do a little segment here called the Hazardous Weather Outlook Rip Current Threat Index. So this is actually a real chart from the weather.gov where we look at the threat of rip currents in the area, and we go ranging from extreme to non-threatening. So non-threatening is no discernible threat to life from rip currents compared to normal. You have the pale yellow, very low, a very low threat to life from rip currents compared to normal. Low is simply a low threat to life from rip currents compared to normal. Moderate, a moderate threat to life. High, a high threat to life. And extreme threat to life from rip currents. So we're going to talk about this in conjunction with RIF season, and we'll look at it as far as their playoff chances. And yes, there are a lot of games left in the USL Championship, but they are starting to pass pretty quickly, pretty fast. So looking at this chart, looking at the rip current threat level, what is your threat level as far as this team and maybe missing out on the playoffs, Mr. Hands?
So if we're talking about missing out on the playoffs, like I still think very low, because like just the sheer fact that 8 out of 12 teams make the playoffs in the conference. So like I think we're still 8th or around there. So like, and there's a lot of season left. So yeah, as far as like actually making the playoffs, I would say very low. If I can add, because initially I was thinking going with, I don't know, us getting like a home playoff game or being right around where we were last year.
Before we dive even deeper in this, let's quantify this. How do we want to tackle this? We want to look at it as we want to go first round. We'll look at it as a making the playoffs, and then maybe we can look at what a playoff run would look like in any certain kind of benchmark. So let's start with that playoff piece.
Yeah, so playoff piece, then I would just have like very low, because like I still think it's not. Yeah, but like again, 8 out of 12 teams make the playoffs, so I'm not too concerned now that we're not going to make the playoffs at all. Just that we're not going to kind of climb up higher. But
how about you, Timmy?
I think I agree with very low. So I would not say non-threatening. I want that to be clear, because the pace that we're on right now, we would miss the playoffs. We're still in 8th place, but Indy 11 is 1 point behind us with 2 games in hand, and Birmingham is 2 points behind us with 1 game in hand. So both of them, by the time they play their next game, by the time they play one of those games in hand, could jump us in the standings. So again, if we continue exactly as we are right now, we will miss the playoffs. But I have to believe, I can't imagine we continue playing as poorly as we have the first 12 games of the season. I just think we have to do even a pinch better than how we've done, and we will make the playoffs at a minimum, because like Matt said, 8 teams make it. So a very low threat for me.
So the 2 teams behind us are Birmingham and Indy 11, and I think Indy 11 is a team that usually kind of plays steady Eddie, and they don't really go on big runs. So I could kind of see them hanging pace with us. But Birmingham was a team that brought in a lot of offseason acquisitions, and people had them ranked very highly as to where they thought they would finish in the Eastern Conference this year. I think as these new players start to gel and they kind of come on a rise, I see them hitting a bit better form, which I'm going to go with high. I think our chances are high as far as missing the playoffs, and I think Birmingham could be the team to leapfrog us in that. And I think a lot of that goes to the fact that we are simply not good right now. The return of JJ will not be the save all. I think Ibarra comes in and makes a big difference just at that 6, like I've talked about. But until, we're able to add a couple more players. I think a striker's got to come in. We did hear last week that a signing fell through last minute. So you have to wonder what that was and how that would have affected the team. But there needs to be some additions to the squad, which is injury hampered right now and just very thin as it is. So we'll take a look at this from the next wave or next level as far as a threat index. And let us know in your chat what your thoughts are. What is your threat level as far as RIFC not making the playoffs? Pick one of those tiers in there in the nice color-coded charts that we have on the slide, not slides, not to be confused with Ryan's slides. But Hans, we'll start with you. What is your threat level as far as this team not hosting a home playoff game?
Yeah, for that, high for sure. I just think that arguably extreme, but I'll say high, be a little bit positive, but because like there is enough time left in the season is probably the only reason I'm not saying extreme. But yeah, like there's good. Only 4 teams get to host, and there's like you have to assume Louisville, Loudoun, and Charleston are all going to host because they've had really good seasons so far. So it's kind of catching those other teams, and we're falling further behind those teams. It was kind of a gap, I believe, between like the top like 4 and everyone else, and we've kind of slid further behind. So yeah, I'd say high.
How about you, Timmy?
Tonight I'm on high threat. I agree. I think our chances are getting lower and lower that we will get the home playoff game. We're more than a third through the season. We're closer to half or about to be halfway through the season. If we lose on Saturday to North Carolina, who's in 4th place right now, I will 9 p.m. on Saturday, I will be extreme threat level for missing out on a home playoff game if we lose on Saturday.
I have to add, Timmy, I was this is how bad it is. I was trash talked by a North Carolina fan on Twitter,
God.
which is crazy.
Oh,
I was I was talking about a totally different. Well, randomly talking about Reggie Cannon, and someone made a joke he should be in USL, whatever. But yeah, got to talking about that, and the guy was, and I was saying I'd love him at RIFC because he'd be a great wing back. And the guy was like a North Carolina fan, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you from all the way down. You're too far down the table." So that's how that's how bad it is for us right now. We're getting trash talked by NCFC.
You guys are both wrong. It's extreme. This is not happening. We are not hosting a home playoff game, and I know it's something the front office will be really pissed at that loss of income coming in from a home playoff game. We'll end it on this one. RIFC making the playoffs and advancing to the second round of the playoffs.
Tough.
Or not advancing, so you can pick your threat level as far.
Yeah, threat level for not advancing after the. I mean, extreme, I guess, because I guess if I'm gonna say that we're likely not going to host a game and we're probably going to be in the lower end, I think you're probably going to, if you're 7 or 8, like I think Kevin was saying, you're going to end up going to Louisville or to Charleston. And yeah, we won there in both places last year in the playoffs, but I just don't think
last year. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's not last year. I don't think you can bank on that happening again. So yeah, probably extreme at this point.
How about you, Timmy?
I'm going the opposite direction. I'm dropping down to moderate threat level for not making the second round because there's a lot of season left. I'm still optimistic that we're going to figure some things out. I don't think we're going to be perfect. I think we're going to be better. And I think other teams will fall off, looking at North Carolina, among others. I think other teams will get better. So by the time the season ends, I feel more probable we'll be like 5 or 6. And that could mean that we're playing any of like North Carolina, Detroit. I wouldn't back us against, but Pittsburgh, even team like that. I think we have an okay chance of going on the road and getting a result. And again, I'm really banking on. There's no way we are as bad in October as we are right now. I just think it's impossible.
All right, right on. I'm going extreme. We're going to either Charleston or Louis City, and see you later. That's the end of the season.
We are
But,
cooked if we go to Charleston or Louisville.
Yeah.
Easily.
So that ends your Tide Talk RIP Current Threat Index report. Thank you for playing along with us and tuning in for that one. We got 2 questions before we sign off. First one was from Sarah. Do we think that Grant is a good captain replacement? I feel like we need a mid-captain, Zach, Amos, Clay. I don't think Grant is a good leader and voice on the field. Hands, will start with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's like a veteran player, so maybe that's kind of why by default maybe he gets it. But like, yeah, I'd rather. I mean, for this last game, I'd rather see Clay or even Amos. I think Amos had the armband at one point this season, right? So yeah, either Amos or Clay. I think. I mean, I would say so. Maxi, but Maxi wasn't playing, so because Maxi was out didn't start this game. Yeah, I'd say like, yeah, any of them really. Clay, Amos, or Maxi, I think could have it. I'd say I prefer probably Maxi, but that's what I would do.
Good shout. I will say before I kick it to Timmy, I'm not a fan of Clay having it after the Miami loss. He was the first player down the tunnel, went immediately down to the tunnel, didn't come over to the fans at all, didn't stay out. I think that just reflects poorly on you wearing the armband and, kind of saving face in front of your fan base after a really shitty loss.
That's fair. He did come back. He did come out, though, because he was talking to my son later. So
no, I think Matt meant to say Grant because that was the
Grant.
That was the
sorry,
point
I meant Clay. I was going to say
no, Grant.
Yeah, my take was also.
Did I say Clay? I'm sorry. Gray was Stoneman at the Miami.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
Yeah, that was exactly the thing that I was going to point to as well. That really bothered me. I think that's so soft to be the captain and be the first one down the tunnel when the whole rest of the team took what's the word? Not a lecture, but got a lashing from the supporters group, and he was sitting at his locker moping. Can't stand that.
Do we have video proof of that to post on the internet, or it didn't happen?
I didn't honestly see it. Someone else pointed it out to me.
I was next to Irvin on the rail when it happened. I can confirm was there.
No, for sure.
Final question to get us out of here. Our guy Leo had a question for the pod. When Noah and Maxi are on the pitch together up top, are either of them truly playing as any form of a 9? Even the commentators pointed out last night at least one of them was making the same forward run into the same space effectively on top of each other. And they also both keep dropping back pretty deeply in the midfield to pick up the ball. Hands.
Yeah, he's totally right. Per usual. Leo knows ball is a common phrase here at Tide Talk when on the pod and even amongst ourselves. But yeah, no, he's right. Like, and that's kind of where I've been going with moving Noah to wing back and putting Maxi in the kind of Noah role from last year because, yeah, they're taking up the same spaces. And like, I mean, yeah, Noah's probably more prone to going out wide than Maxi would be, but like generally, yeah, they're both dropping back into the same locations as kind of like number 10s, and I don't think they'll work together as like 2 number 10s. I don't think we can afford to do that anyway. I'd rather just kind of have Maxi there with a strong midfield behind him. So yeah, he's definitely right.
All right, on. Before I kick it to you, Timmy, I'll give my quick 2 cents on that. The answer is no, and the reason they're dropping so deep is because we need a 6. We need a new Barrow back there. Fixes up. Easy.
That's fair. I mean, I also thought like I want to say the first like 5 or 10 minutes after they subbed on together, I did think they were playing the exact same position. Like it looked like neither of them knew where they were supposed to be. And the point when the commentators said it was because like both of them made the same run forward, then both of them dropped back to the same spot, like right on top of each other. But then, and Kevin said it's a hodgepodge. Like after that, after we made a couple more subs, it was like, I think Maxi ended up dropping deeper. Noah was playing up top by himself, and like we already touched on, couldn't get. So I think it was. I don't know if we can read that much into what we saw for the 20 minutes or so last night because it was such a mess.
Sure, it was just so discombobulated at that point. But
it felt like, and real quick on Kano, like I feel like sometimes in games, again going back to last year, he'll kind of just throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks late in games, like when we're losing. And I feel like that's kind of what this was again, just kind of throwing a bunch of, midfielders, 8s / 10s kind of, and just throwing them in there, it just doesn't work.
No, totally. But wanted to thank everyone who tuned in, or if you're watching this back, make sure you hit that like button before we get out of here. So we're back at it Saturday at home as we welcome fourth place North Carolina FC. Should be interesting. We need 3 points. Let's see what kind of fight the boys come out with or do not come out with. But hopefully we do see some type of response in this one. If not, get yourself down to the supporter section and listen to the Megahorn afterwards for what's bound to be certainly be a good time. So I've been your host, Matt, for Timmy and Matt joining us. That'll wrap things up. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. These two fine gentlemen write some awesome blogs, so make sure you head to our website to check those out as well. You can find it by clicking the link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts and check out our website. I've been your host, Matt, for Timmy and Matt. We'll see you again next time, and thank you for joining. And as always, up the Tide.